everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the stream. Hello. Welcome. And look who we have. Other way. We're just going to have a chat with Meadow, who is an awesome content creator. Huge on TikTok, in my opinion. I met her on Scarlet64's channel when we played Witches together, which was so much fun. And I had a blast, and it was like a ton of fun. How have you been? How's everything?
I am doing really well. I had so much fun during that witch one shot. I have thought about it at least twice a day
Yes.
since we wrapped up play.
Mhm.
Really fun characters. That's why I love one shots so much. So
Yes.
yeah, doing really good. Preparing for my upcoming run fair.
Yes.
About to launch a couple of new campaigns to run. Summer is always super busy,
Right.
so really excited for that.
I'm excited for you. I love Ren Fair. I haven't been to a Ren Fair in forever. I'm super excited, for you because I know how much fun they are. So I just want to get into it. Like, where did the name come from? What was your inspiration for Meadow the GM?
Well, Meadow's my name, and I am a GM.
Simple,
So
easy.
yeah, I just went straight forward. I wasn't trying to fool anybody. So I just thought it'd be easier for people who, especially people who know me from TikTok,
Right.
to be able to find me if they're looking for me where I run games or anywhere else. Plus, that's kind of like what I feel like. I feel like the GM. Like that's
Yes.
when TTRPGs seep so deeply into your life that you become that thing.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
it fits. It just fits really well.
I get it. Look, I did the same exact thing. Like, I am Sam, and it's easier for people to find me this way. So, totally get it. So I met you, like I said, on Scarlet64's channel, where we got to show off some really amazing characters with Neo Soul God as our GM. And you displayed some really superb acting and D&D skills. It was so much fun to play
Thank
off
you.
each other. When did you start playing D&D, and was 5e your first TTRPG experience?
Oh my gosh. Well, I, like a lot of people during the pandemic, had a lot of time on my hands, and I was at home all the time, as all of us were, and
Yes.
I took up a lot of that time with consuming new content.
Mhm.
And Dimension 20 really grabbed me. So I started out with Fantasy High, and then I just started consuming every bit of that media that I could. If it was in the dome, I
Mhm.
was watching it. So I think that's what sparked the excitement to play,
Okay.
because I could see it happening and I was like, I got to do that. I got to roll dice. I have to like tell a story with a bunch of friends. I have to do this. And so I went to a community event that was put
Mhm.
on by some people who were brilliant, and a group of GMs who were familiar with D&D
Mhm.
got together and wrote a one-shot module. So anybody could just show up and play. There was like 24 different tables from
Wow.
anywhere between 3 and 7 people per table,
Ooh.
and everyone was playing the same one shot, and I fell in love immediately. I have quite literally never looked back.
Mhm.
I rolled my first die and got an 18, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
my purpose in life. Got it. Say no more. I'm absolutely on board."
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, that was my first experience with it, watching it so much that I
Mhm.
wanted to participate, and then participating to a place that made me love it, and I
Right.
just haven't stopped.
Oh, that's so. I mean, that's a lot of people to like 25 tables. That's impressive. Like, that's one way to bring it into your
Right?
sphere of like 25 wish.
So
So
many DMs were there. It was
that's
really cool to see everybody pull together. Like
mm,
immediately you got the sense of this is a community,
yes.
as soon as you sat down. So I think that's a lot of people's first time experiences, like not just surprised by how much fun you're having, but by how much of a community is centered around
Yes.
TTRPGs and D&D and things like that.
I get it. I completely agree. Like, we recently figured out each other's communities on TikTok. We gonna talk about that a little bit later. But there's a whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
we'll talk about a little bit later. But what made you gravitate toward TTRPGs in general after that experience, and why specifically D&D after that?
D&D was all I knew at first, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is a lot of people's experience with TTRPGs. So I kind of wanted to stay where I felt comfortable.
Yes.
Um, and eventually, just falling in love with telling stories that way and coming up with characters and building worlds with my friends
Right.
became so much more a part of it that it's just not limited to D&D anymore.
Right.
It was very limited for me when I started out because I was overwhelmed by how many there are out there. There are hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
TTRPGs out there. You'll never get to play them all. And I realized that by sticking with D&D and only D&D because I was scared to try new things, I was really limiting myself from what I would enjoy.
Right.
So even though I still like to fight a little dungeon and roam a little dragon, I do have so many others that have just stolen my heart. The systems are so cool, and there's so many different ways to tell a story. If
Yes. Yes.
all books in all the world were only written in one language, we would miss out on so many beautiful phrases and so much culture and individuality. So, D&D is fun, was fun, is fun, continues to be fun. It's just not the only road that I
Right.
drive down. Um, so yeah, just my love for storytelling, my love for my friends, and my love for the community really, I think, is what pushed me to keep pursuing TTRPGs and push out of my comfort zone bit by bit.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, chat, just really quickly, if you want to ask Meadow any questions at the end of our discussion here and our end of our interview, please feel free to use channel points. It's about 50, not about, it's 50 channel points per question. And so we can keep track of what everything's going, like everyone's asking. And you can ask whatever you want within reason, please. Keep it, okay. So
Yeah, you got to pay 100 points
exactly
for
for
those
out
kinds
of
of
reason.
questions.
For out of reason. I don't even have an option for that, so you need it. So you also, and I've noticed this. I actually saw you before we did the one shot on TikTok, doing a cosplay. So you cosplay a lot of Ren Fair based style. Um, did that come from as a natural progression, or was it inspired from you playing TTRPGs and D&D?
Oh gosh. Um this is like a twisted question because I was having a really hard time finding my own style,
Okay.
or something that I just like loved. I would wear pretty much anything. I was like, well, this is a cool color, this is a fun shirt, and I would just kind of put it on. But I didn't really have a style that like set me apart, and that's what I've always really wanted. And I realized that going to Ren fairs and playing D&D and watching more fantasy and reading more fantasy really made me realize that that's what I want to look like. Whether it's the
Right.
princess, the warrior, the rogue, the peasant, whatever, the pirate, I want to look like that. I like calling it lore core
I
because
like
every
that.
single outfit I put on has a backstory, has like an intent behind it, lore. It feels like a character, an NPC in a video game, or a character you could come across in your D&D
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
And so I threw out everything I owned and
Oh.
used my tax refund years ago. I think it was like 3 years ago now. I used what came in and I just bought all new clothes.
Oh wow. That is
So I made a
dedication.
really hard shift. Yeah, I'm very much, it's all or nothing with me. So I bought a whole new wardrobe, and I am continuing to build my skill set because I want to start making my own clothes so I don't have to buy it all, besides materials. And so that was inspired both by TTRPGs and Ren fairs at the same time. I just have so much fun feeling like what I'm wearing has a story. I
Right.
love carrying stories with me, which is why I think I love TTRPGs so much and why my style is really important to me.
Yes.
So a lot of people think it's like very costumey, or there's no way you wear that to Walmart. And I'm like, yes, I
Yes.
do.
Like I go out
I
every
really
day.
do. And I do get weird looks, but like, I don't know, it's very empowering. I like the way I look. I think it's fun. So that's just how I dress now.
That's awesome. Like I saw you on TikTok. I was like, this looks so cool. I think one of the TikTok I saw, you were asking, um, or you spoke about people not knowing what to do or how to put together outfits for them, and you were asking people to give you suggestions. And I was like, this is awesome. I love this. So definitely, definitely cool. And she does dress like this all the time. I can attest to the fact
Yeah.
that every time I've opened a TikTok, you don't see a jean in sight. Like,
I don't own a pair of jeans. I didn't. They never looked good on me anyway. I'm not a jeans girly. But yeah, I don't own a pair of jeans. I own sweatpants and things like that because I do realize that practical wear is important. Like
right,
if I'm moving or if I'm gonna like paint my walls or something like that. Like I do have stuff that is meant to be throwaway. But
right.
if I'm leaving my house, I really want to put out into the world something weird and unique and fun, and that makes me happy. And that's what dressing like a weird little peasant or a tavern wench does for me.
It's awesome.
Um, why not? You know,
Right,
life's too
exactly.
short.
100%. Her life was too short. You have, like I've said before, I've seen you on TikTok, that you have a very large following on TikTok. I believe it's over 10,000 followers.
Eh,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends on TikTok. A lot of the
Yes.
really sweet people.
So with that in mind, is content creation your main focus and your full-time job, or is this just a hobby type of creation type of thing?
Yeah, I am just a silly little guy on Maine. So I just like making content because when I got into D&D, there was no one like locally around me that
Okay.
did it.
Okay.
So I knew that there was like a D&D TikTok community, and I
Okay.
was like, okay, I got to get in there. Like someone's got to be talking about Dimension 20. Someone has
Yes.
to be as stoked about these things as I do. Someone has to know where the pretty dice are.
Yes.
So specifically joined to get the details on how to be a better member of the community, and I ended up finding community in that.
Yes.
So I'm not in like the creators fund. I don't I've had some really cool opportunities that creators in the community have sent me things to like review and stuff. So honored to do that because they're some of my like treasured possessions.
Right.
But no, it's not monetized at all. I just have a lot of fun. I really like making friends. So if you don't already follow me on TikTok,
Follow
please
her on
become a
TikTok.
mutual. Get over there. It's
Yes.
Howdy Love Darlin'. No G because I'm Southern as hell. And it's just fun for me, and it's
Yeah.
really where like you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the TTRPG community. New TTRPGs are getting written, homebrews are coming out all the time. You're learning about the scandals of like Wizards of the
Yes.
Coast. You're like, like there's always something going
There's
on.
always
Yeah.
something, and the scandals are absolutely epic and rampant. So, speaking of Howdy Love Darling, tell us about Howdy Love Darling games.
Yeah, How to Love Darling Games is my YouTube channel. Coming soon to this will not just be games. Well, yes, technically. They're going to be drinking games with movie reviews
Ooh,
where me and some friends sit down and we watch things and like D&D or TTRPG code them.
I
Like
like
talking
that.
about which characters would be what class and what system we would run this movie in, and some drinking rules as well so that we can keep it silly. Uh, but I also have my campaign of a Crown of Vines and Fire, which is a Court of Fey and Flowers inspired Regency D&D campaign that I wrote inspired by the amazing Abria Iyengar. And I finished running it. I've run it a couple times now,
Okay.
but I uploaded it there. My full-time job is not content creation. I am a full-time game master. So I run
Okay.
games for people, usually multiple times a week. Sometimes I'll have an
Wow.
off week when scheduling or holiday happens. But that's what I do for a living. That's my full-time job. So not everyone wants their entire campaign put up on YouTube. So I was
Yeah.
really blessed and lucky and honored to get the permission and the privilege to be able to share what my players are capable of
Yeah.
and what I put so much effort into writing on YouTube. It is up now. Again, it's called A Crown of Vines and Fire. It is
Yes.
so much fun. My players, I will like fight for the death to them.
Yes.
Like They're amazing, creative, they are passionate and smart, and they're chaotic and hilarious. They're not afraid to flirt. They're not
It's
afraid to
so much
die.
fun to watch. Like
They're
it.
so good.
So, your sister speaking of it, I will tell people like it is a Regency themed D&D game on YouTube, which I like have been like binging. I've binged the last few episodes. I'm like, this is so much fun. Um, where did the idea come from? Like, and one, that's one, and two, when can we expect another episode? Because I'm like almost done, and I hate. It drives me crazy when you start binging something like, oh man, I'm almost done. When is the next
Yeah.
episode coming?
Absolutely. Well, again, Dimension 20 is my life. Please save me, Dimension 20. Dimension 20. If you give me Dimension 20, I love everything that they put out. I love everything that Dropout puts out. To me, it's the only streaming service that matters. But Dimension 20 hosted a campaign ran and written by Abria Iyengar called A Court of Fae and Flowers, and it is also a Regency D&D campaign. And I thought so much of it was so beautifully done that I
Yes.
wanted to allow people a seat at that table with a less experienced GM. Like I
Yeah.
can do what I can do. So, we had token boxes, we had reputation trackers, there were beautiful masquerade balls, and we had a garden maze that was full of magic and Feywilds and wonder, and
So
it
good.
was all you can do as a creative person
Mhm.
is take something that you love
Right.
and make it yours. And that's what I really tried to do. It is all homage and no fraud. I just adore Abria Iyengar so much.
Right.
There should be only 3 episodes missing on
Okay.
YouTube,
Okay.
and so
Good.
they'll be going up 1 week at a time. So you'll be getting them weekly. Let's hope,
I
fingers crossed,
I have been
to get them
like,
up there.
I have been so into it. I'm like, oh my god, this is so much fun. Like I've been like, so I love like the Netflix Regency stuff that's been happening. I won't
Yeah,
name it out.
Bridgerton
Bridgerton and stuff
universe.
like that. Universe.
Yeah.
I've read the original Bridgerton books, so a little annoyed that they don't follow the books, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But this has been the best like thing for me to have. Like I have like a Bridgerton D&D series. It feels so great. It's so much fun. You are currently technically here on TikTok, but not. I mean, technically on Twitch, but not on Twitch. Will that
Yeah.
change anytime soon? Will we be getting a Meadow the GM stream or a Howdy Love Darling game stream? Like what's gonna happen with Twitch?
So if you know anything about me at all, I am highly susceptible to peer pressure. So if people tell me to, I will, but otherwise, I'm just going to like not put in any extra effort.
Like why?
Again, I run multiple games a week, so a lot of the effort that I put into my games goes straight to them. I
Right.
am doing prep, I make the maps, I write the campaigns, I write the one shots, we do so much to like make these playlists. We have band t-shirts for one of my
Oh,
campaigns that
so much
like
fun.
I just shipped out care packages for the end of the campaign for a Crown of Vines and Fire. So a lot of what I do is very behind the scenes. I could
Gotcha.
start streaming that on Twitch, like just me putting that stuff together or
Please.
me running a one shot, but like no one's asked me to.
I'm
So as soon
asking.
as someone
I'm asking. Please, please,
I'll
please.
consider it for sure. I'll for sure consider it because like I just don't want to bore anyone.
Oh my gosh.
I'm terrified of
Impossible.
putting people asleep, or
Impossible.
being unnecessary. I really want to be necessary.
I think that to have you here on Twitch would be like one of those things. Like, okay, who? So I'd be spoiled for choice because I follow a lot of people on Twitch, a lot of artists, a lot of D&D, a couple gamers here and cosplayers. But I would be spoiled for choice if you come on here. I'd be so happy. So totally do it. So you said earlier that you DM professionally. I have seen you on Start Playing after going on YouTube and binging every episode. And you have, I believe, a little over 100 sessions on Start Playing, which is a lot for Start Playing. Was that always a plan for you, or was it accidental, or did you like kind of just this is where I'm gonna be?
Yeah, no, but when I started playing D&D, I was pretty sure I was going to join the circus as a flying trapeze artist.
Wait.
So
What?
yeah, so
You can't
but
just
that
blow
was
past flying trapeze and the circus.
okay. Well, that's what I was doing at the time. I was living in a school bus on a farm, going to trapeze lessons, and my full-time job was selling moonshine in Nashville. And around that time is when I was like, let's add D&D to this.
Okay, let's time out. Time out. So we have the circus and
Yeah,
selling moonshine.
yeah, yeah.
Um, how? How do we jump? Well, first of all, how do you get into the circus? That's number one. Number two, how do you go from moonshine to the circus or vice versa? Like, how does this happen?
Well, at the time, I was okay. Listen, at the time, I was also a professional axe throwing teacher.
It's happening.
So I'm trying to say the crossroads are a lot closer than you think.
I love my job. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone who is here, this is why I love doing this, because where else I'm going to find out that someone who has taught axe throwing, sold moonshine, and been in the circus? How does these intersect?
I just don't like to be bored at work. To be completely honest with you, I don't like to be bored. I am always following a passion, and anything new will immediately grab my interest. Craigslist is a crazy way to find a job. And also, when you're living in Nashville, Tennessee, moonshine is everywhere. It's on every corner. There's a distillery on every road in downtown Nashville. So
Really?
I was far from the only one selling moonshine on a daily basis. And right down the road is a circus school for aerial arts. It's called Nashville School for Aerial Arts, and they are fantastic. They are some of the most safety-oriented people that I know. They are firm but encouraging. They are experienced. They are funny and fair, and they push you to do your best.
Oh, wow.
So I had a great time learning, but what I was learning for was so that I could go actually join a circus. And in the middle of that, I moved out of my school bus and down to Atlanta, and that's where I am now. So all of my Nashville jobs, my crazy weird stuff, my circus stuff was kind of gone. And so I was like desperate for community. I was desperate for something to do. And that's when I found Atlanta role-playing games. This is a city collective. I am now one of the co-admins of, and we run free games of any TTRPG you can think of weekly, multiple times a week for free, out at regular bars, arcade bars, nerd bars, dive bars, anywhere we could find where people will come out to us and roll dice. We give dice away for free. We have like 4 to 5 to 6 DMs a night, and we make that happen because it's important to have that community. Without finding ATLRPG, I don't know where I'd be socially, emotionally, like psychologically. It is such a blessing to have found such wonderful people doing things in the TTRPG community that are important and silly and fun and scary and new and really heartfelt. It comes from a place of wanting to tell stories. So again, wanting to be silly, wanting to be passionate, those are where all of those weird jobs and weird hobbies and weird passions intersect. So it seems like they are wildly disconnected. I promise, if you're following your heart, everything kind of makes sense. I have done that all my life. So it's been a journey. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
journey.
that is one
But
hell of a
not always
journey.
my I thought I was gonna be a player forever,
Mm.
but now I am a DM forever. So, uh, joke's on me.
And what's so funny is that a lot of times, as soon as you become a DM or a GM, what ends up happening is that you hardly get to play. So when you do get to play, it's so much more fun. You're like, all of a sudden, you're
Yeah.
like, "This is amazing! I love this!" You know. Um, so you started doing exclusively TTRPG related content, specifically on TikTok. When did you decide that TikTok is going to be your main focus, your main streaming type of thing? Aside from YouTube, we'll talk about that later. But TikTok.
Yeah, I think the community that TikTok has for the TTRPG space
Mm-hmm.
is so warm and genuine and
Yes.
real.
Mm.
It is so special, and it feels so rare, and I feel so grateful to be in that space with you and with Neo and
Yeah.
everyone that we have come into contact with. Scarlett's brand new, but I've
Yes.
like been following her forever.
For
But
yes,
like
same.
just now actually getting around into the different circles. There's like the big 10, and then there's the rest of us. It doesn't feel like there's a space you can't get into.
Right.
It feels like everyone's making the rounds, constantly growing, constantly welcoming new people in.
Yes.
Anyone who tries to gatekeep or gaslight or girl boss too hard uh, are the ones that end up shutting themselves out.
Yep.
We don't shut them themselves out. So the trash takes itself out once a week, and
Yes.
it's fine. So I think TikTok having such a welcoming response to me
Mm-hmm.
when I'm fairly new in the grand scheme of things, I think has been really helpful. And I think that solidified my want to
Right.
be mainly on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to expand. I'm just not great at keeping up with multiple social medias. Uh, don't have the need. Like, I'm not big enough on
Right.
social media to be making any money off of it or to like hire someone to run it for me. So like it is what it is.
Right, gotcha. Um, so since we just touched on it, I'm gonna just jump into what we were talking, the little bit of trash taking itself out and a little kerfuffle. Recently on TikTok, for people who don't know, some of my community kind of knows a little bit of it because I kind of chatted about it. The TTRPG community were challenged by someone was challenged another creator to name 5 black TTRPG content creators. That creator that was challenged was Azure, who we will be interviewing next weekend. Amazing content creator. But the person challenged her to name 5 content creators. Similar to the Night Skin incident, it triggered a follow train that was very exclusively TTRPG, very exclusively D&D, where everyone started discovering each other. Like, oh my god, I didn't know you existed. Kind of a mass discovery of each other. What are your feelings on all the new discovery and how this all went down?
I am so stoked. I have gotten to I think I followed like just in the last 3 days or so since it actually happened. I've followed like 80 new people that
Yep.
I actually like really enjoyed their content. It's not just that they're like, "Oh, I like D&D." Like
Right.
no, they're like got a long list of videos that are like cracking me up, that
Mm-hmm.
are really creative, that have good tips for running games and things like that that I never saw. The algorithm just for whatever reason didn't show them to me.
Right.
And now I have a dozen new mutuals, some of them with like over a quarter million followers. Like I said, it doesn't feel like anyone is excluding anyone.
Right.
It feels like we are becoming more inclusive to the other people we are valuing.
Right.
So I don't think it could have gone any better. I think it went the best that it could have possibly
It
gone.
totally did. It was one of those moments where, like, someone who decided to weirdly troll. It was very, very weird. It was so bizarre, and the explanation that the person gave was that he was trying to find content creators in D&D, but in a weird trolling way. Um, so odd, but the outcome was so beautiful. Like it was just bizarre, such a bizarre thing. Um,
I think it's funny. I don't
really,
know. I just think it's funny because it's so it's scary for people who have never been vulnerable or genuine to
hmm
be like, "Hey, I actually would love to follow more
right?
creators, like Black creators, creators of color, great creators who are fantastic allies. Like, I just want to
Yeah,
widen my circle. Can I get a follow train started in the comment section of
yeah.
this?" Everyone would have rallied around you, and not
Instantly.
only would would we have like been friends, but you would have gotten what you wanted. But instead of that, you decided to double down on
Yes.
your bad take
Mm.
and say "nana nana boo boo." I made you look. Like,
Like,
I don't think that that is going to garner a wide response of support.
right.
And if what you wanted was to feel supported and to support other Black creators, then why'd you do
That's
that? Like,
yeah.
why'd you say that?
Yeah,
Um,
it was weird. It was so weird. Like I'm still weirded out by it. Like it was bizarre,
I
especially
think it's
the nana
hilarious.
nana boo
I
boo
hope he
part.
does it again.
Like it's like the part where he's like, "I got you guys. I made you find content creators. Look, I just wanted followers." I'm like, "But you only have 44 followers. It didn't work. What do you mean?"
It really would have, though, if you approach this community with not just respect, because that's what we're going to give to anyone
Right.
who hasn't earned disrespect. If you approach us with vulnerability and genuine, enthusiasm,
Yes.
I don't know a single person in the TTRPG community that's going to be like, no, gross.
Like, no, we don't
Like,
want you.
as TTRPG players, at
Right.
the very least, we strive
Yeah.
to portray characters with genuine connection and
Yes.
vulnerability. And
Yes.
for you to come up in here, you know what? I'm glad it worked out.
I am very glad it worked out. I'm
That's all
glad
I have to
that
say.
it did almost exactly the same thing that the night skin incident did.
Good.
Yeah,
Great.
almost
Good.
exactly the same thing. Like literally, some guy came on TikTok and was like, "You people don't know anything about anime. Your night skins are ruining everything." And every content creator was like, "I love night skins. I love that
Night
we're
Skins
taking."
it sounds
That
dope.
sounds so
I
cool. You
It's
know,
like you just made a brand new superpower by
exactly.
trying to make a slur. Like,
Like
that's terrible.
it was funny. So he tried to make a slur, and it created this channel where I interview people, and because of that, I interviewed Neo, who was one of the creators of his Night Skin D&D HBCU creation, which is amazing. But love stuff. I love when stuff like this happens. You know, stuff like this makes me happy. Uh,
I
just like
agree.
yay. Um,
And I think eventually he might get that and take a step back and hopefully just like assess.
yes, yes,
Because making a mistake does not mean that like the world hates you or you're going
right,
to be
right,
terrible forever. But also we don't owe you interaction
right.
when what you did was come at us with hate and sarcasm.
Yeah, agreed.
So, good luck.
Right. Good luck to you, but thank you also.
Bless your heart. Bless
Bless
your
your
heart,
heart.
honey.
On November 20th, 2023, you were a part of Fire and Ash Kickstarter, which got funded with its stretch goals. Tell us about Fire and Ash, the Kickstarter, and about the product that they are putting out.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Fire and Ash is such a cool concept. Please check them out on TikTok. I
Mm,
do believe they're also on Instagram at Fire and Ash, and it is Fire with a Y, so
yes,
Fyre,
yes,
and Ash with an E at the end. So it's going to be hard to find if you don't know what you're looking for. But they are an artist collective of people who do like wood graining, wood burning, wood engraving
right,
for dice storage, dice cases, anything that you could need for your TTRPG like gear. They
yes,
make it, and they make it so beautifully. I I think I cried when I opened the
Really?
package. Yeah, because it's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite things that I own now, and it's like propped up on my bookcase because I want to always be able to see it. It's like dice storage, it's also a dice tower, it's
Oh,
also a
cool.
dice holder, and it's shaped like a book, which is, you know, I'm a very bookish gal. So it's got these beautiful designs in it, and they work with other artists that like design things for them, and then they do the actual product building. And to have something that is like all natural, supports artists, small business, and is completely nerdy for
Yep.
D&D and TTRPG things, like, you know, they had me sold. You, like you said, they got funded, so I wish nothing but the best for them. If they ever want to send me anything else, I will continue to talk well about them because they worked really well with me. They were very communicative. They seem like sweet people. So Fire and Ash is definitely worth supporting.
So everyone,
I
I
will.
dropped the
I
link,
hope.
their TikTok link in for Fire and Ash in the chat. So if you want to check them out, please do. It is amazing. Also, if you look at Meadow's link tree, she has a link to Fire and Ash Kickstarter and amazing work. I looked at it, I was like, okay, when money comes, we will be buying more
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Great for like a gift, y'all.
Yes.
Since they're now funded, they're gonna have, I'm sure, a lot more designs. Keep that in mind for, you know, Christmas comes up. You got enough time to save up for something nice and fancy. And I've had it for, um, yeah, I've had it for almost 6 months, and I use it all the time, and it hasn't shown any signs of wear. It's not breaking. It's so nicely made.
That's so cool. I was so very impressed. But I'm like, okay, money, but it's okay. It's okay. I know you said you're not in the creator fund, but TikTok has recently made some huge changes to the creative fund. As someone who does a non-traditional job, what do you think of the changes that TikTok has made to the creator fund and how it will affect the creators that depend on this?
Yeah, what are some of the changes that they've made?
So they're pretty much said. So a lot of people who are in the creative fund. I'm not one of them. Are saying that once they hit a certain amount of hours, that the money stops. If they get a certain amount of pay, say like they get, I don't know, I'm throwing a number out there, $3,000. If it goes over that, they can't get any more for the rest of the month. And these people are depending on these things. So for as someone, like I said, who has a non-traditional career path, and who has, I'm assuming, has had inconsistency sometimes in that type of funds, what do you think? How do you think it will impact those creators who are doing this full time?
Sounds like, especially for the type of creators who have taken the time to build up a following that is like a certain mass, to where they could have usually relied on that income, suddenly cannot. I don't think that's quite fair at all. Yeah, in not so many words, fucking whack.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. I think a lot of the dream of content creation is that the sky is the limit.
Yes.
So it's all about how um, you are able to put forth things that you know the people that are with you are gonna like.
Right.
Um, and that's really hard. That's really
Yeah.
hard to do. The people who do content creation full time are not the people who make the majority of their videos, you know,
Right.
just like a quick, you know, offhanded sentence and put it down.
Right. Right.
People are curating when they post it, where to post. They're traveling to get videos in new locations. They're collaborating with
Yep.
people. They're, especially cosplayers and other people in TTRPG, are like tavern talk community.
Yes. Yes.
It's not easy or cheap to furnish that stuff behind you or to get the materials you need to build a cosplay of that caliber.
Right.
Armor, like armor kits, knight kits, and ranger kits and stuff.
That's
That is
huge.
not cheap.
Not
That is
even a
not
little bit.
easy to get to. That's not easy to ship. Like, you can't buy that on what like Temu. Like, that's not going to just come
Timu.
to you like that.
Right. Right.
Um, so I don't think it's fair to arbitrarily limit what your own app is capable of and what the
Right.
people who bring you your app that
Yes.
attention.
Yes. Yeah.
what
Something.
they can do. Because, if I were TikTok, I'd just be doing anything I could to make the people who make the money happy.
Yeah,
Because
like
that makes me the money.
exactly. I'm trying to keep you here, keep you happy, keep you satisfied. If that
Not
means
even a pizza party,
exactly,
TikTok.
like give me
Not even
something,
a pizza
like
party,
give me a cupcake or something,
right?
like help somebody out here. Um, when you first started doing content creation and getting in front of the camera, um, how did you overcome the anxiety and fear of being in front of the camera, or was it a natural thing for you where you're like, I got this, I know what I'm doing, I am gonna do this, camera on, action?
No, I wish that's how it went. I sincerely wish that's how it went. But the thing that I feel helped me a lot
Mm-hmm.
was that you don't have to publish it. Like, you don't have to post it
Yes.
until it looks good.
There's so much in my
So
drafts.
yeah, I have things in my draft that are from quite literally like maybe 2 years ago,
Same.
and I'm like, one day I'm gonna decide if it's good enough to post.
Right.
There I don't know, it's sometimes I'll be on take 15 for a 15-second video.
Oh wow.
um yeah, I don't post things unless I'm satisfied enough, and they're never perfect.
Right.
But it's like, for me, being a perfectionist, being a people pleaser, being someone who like wants what I put out there to be received well, because like, why not?
Right.
It's nerve-wracking, and it always
Yes.
is. I
Yes.
never feel like I'm doing it right. I always feel like I'm like, oh, this one I put a lot of effort into. This video is going to do great.
Right.
And then, TikTok, 2 views, 2 views,
Exactly. Or you're
1
like,
like.
you're like, no one's seeing my stuff. I'm horrible. This sucks.
Exactly. Exactly. And then you post something that's like a toss out
Yeah.
and it goes viral. So, I'm always super excited when one of my videos gets that many likes.
Right.
But I don't put down the videos that don't. I know what the algorithm's like. I know what I look like. I know that there are certain things that get suppressed.
Right.
And
Right.
it's not my content's fault.
Right.
Like, if I spend an hour editing one thing, that doesn't mean it's owed more views.
Right.
It just means for it to make me happy, it took an hour.
Right.
So if it doesn't make anyone else happy, that's not why I did it. Like,
I
did
love
it because I
this
thought it was
idea.
cool.
This is
Fun. I want to put it out. Like, I think that was the same with starting Howdy Love Darling Games. And I'm like, I really want people to like this. Like, I really like the characters. I spent a lot of time writing this. I'm like breaking my back to make this fun and cool and exciting and like what I would want to see.
Right.
But then I was like, oh wait, that's what I would want to see. Like, maybe not, like, the masses don't want to see a Regency D&D with a table as large as mine, with the way I describe things. Maybe they just don't like Regency. Maybe they don't like D&D. Like, you can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
And I don't mind that some of my stuff is like stuck at 12 views.
Okay.
If it made me giggle, I'll put it up. I'm starting to learn like put filters on less. I'm starting to learn to like not have to have makeup on or something to just put on a video. I'm learning to be more authentic because I want that to be cathartic for me and not scary. Like, I don't want to be like my hands shaking trying to post a video because I forgot mascara. So I'm working on it. It's a work in progress all the time.
So as a person, like you said, who you're doing this a lot, mostly for you, what advice would you give someone who is starting out as a content creator, who, whether it's D&D, cosplay, or just whatever they find they're passionate about, like, what advice would you give them to get in front of that camera and just do it?
Yeah, I would say be sillier.
Okay.
Like, you might think you're being silly enough. It's not true. It's simply not true. Yeah, no, for real. Get weird. Get silly. Get awkward. post your fails, post your bloopers. Even if it starts off at like friends only, start it in with an audience of people you trust, because posting either things that you consider mistakes or that you consider not good enough would surprise you.
Okay.
You are so much better than you think you are. No matter how good you think you already are, you're probably better than that. So just be weird and trust that the people who have clicked that follow button did it for a reason.
Okay.
I try to forget that people in real life do know me.
Right.
And do see me on TikTok.
Like I get it, but I have imposter syndrome and a whole other host of other things going on, so it took me a while to go, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I that's some really good advice, and I think I'm gonna take it for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, let me know how it works out. I got your back. I'll like your post.
So I have so much. I have literally, I feel like 300 takes in drafts, like of just because I'm like, this sucks. I'm never gonna put it out. Just leave it in drafts. Like, and I refuse. I haven't done it. You know, it's hard to do. But I'm gonna take that advice. I'm just gonna do it now. Just more on TikTok. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit more about D&D. Wizards of the Coast has recently, yes, has
okay, yeah,
recently
period.
put out the one D&D, the new D&D. They might call it 60. We don't know what it's gonna be called yet. People have been calling it one D&D, but they have essentially, and this is my opinion, and people know my opinion about it, have sanitized D&D in an attempt to make it more inclusive, and I'm going inclusive in quotes. So they've changed a lot of the rules. They've changed the feat imbalance. They've done this whole 3-spell list class share. They've changed the rogue rules. To me, it seems less cohesive as a TTRPG, and more what people accused 4E of being. Do you agree with the direction that they've gone in? And do you think it was a mistake? And if you were in charge, what would you have done?
Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is, do I agree? And the answer is yes.
Ooh,
I think they should keep making bad decisions.
Really?
Yes, I do. Because I don't think Wizards of the Coast takes it seriously.
Okay, gotcha.
I think Hasbro injected a deadly venom into Wizards of the Coast. Not like it was ever, perfect before.
Right.
But I do think Wizards of the Coast have had their time.
Yes.
And so if they continue to bite off more than they can chew, then they deserve to choke on it.
I love that. I love that.
So they haven't earned any of my loyalty.
Gotcha.
They have proven time and time again to not be trustworthy to help tell non-bigoted stories.
Yes.
And I think it's 2024. And if you haven't learned by now, maybe the problem's not with us or the system. Maybe somewhere else. And I'll let that be up to the class to decide where that could be.
Right.
But I do agree that they should continue to make bad decisions, because I'm ready to see their light go out.
I love that.
What would I have done if I was in charge?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have released Spelljammer like that. I know that.
Oh my god. I read, I think I got through like 5 or 6 pages. I didn't even get through the first part of it. I read through like 5 or 6 pages. I was like, I can't.
Okay, so here's the thing. I went straight to the Hadozi page.
Really?
Yes. And because I had heard so much controversy about it, and I was like, it can't be that bad. There's no way it could be that bad.
Right.
And I was like,
it's
like no Chick-fil-A sauce? Like I was my flabbers were gassed. I was not ready to see what I saw. And then for it to be so blatant, like it's one
Yes.
Google away. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's no way you didn't have anybody in your team telling you that this was not the fucking move. And if you didn't, it's because your team didn't look the way it should have looked in
Right.
order to be telling this particular story. But they know that. And I want to plug someone else's project that has absolutely nothing to do with me here.
Go for it.
Slovenly Trolls
Okay.
is a podcast that are D&D feminist historians.
Oh, nice.
And they are also on TikTok. I
Okay.
watch every single thing that they do. They're such a fun podcast. They go in and they talk about the bigoted beginnings, middles, and ends of uh Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And it's super worth a listen. Their TikToks, if you don't like long format and just want to get like a couple of clips, super interesting, intriguing. They are very engaging as well on social media. So if you have questions, they will most likely answer them, which is great. And
Right.
it's always a boon. So I think that D&D was set up to be bigoted, and with the pushback that it gets,
Yeah.
it hasn't made far enough strides for
Right.
me to tell people how to fix it or to support it.
Gotcha.
Like I said, there's hundreds of thousands of other TTRPGs out there. I think 5e is the best we're going to get. And I think
I
we
agree.
should leave it there. Like, I think how the video game Baldur's Gate people pulled out and they're like, just so you know, we're not doing another one
Yeah,
of
like
these.
you guys suck.
Like, WotC learn something from this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
look at what they're doing.
They
Like when the
literally
teacher
said
is talking, listen to them. Like, leave, stop.
it was weird because they literally said, listen, we're here's your game. It sucks what you did. You guys suck. Bye. That's literally what they
Yeah.
did, and I was like, I'm a forever Alarian fan now, because of that.
I in them I trust, in Illyrian I trust, and I don't think that it's very hot girl or girly pop to be treating people the way that they treat people in this day and age. So again, I just wouldn't support it. D&D is fun to play. It is a fun system. It is so worth having at your table and trying out. But the people behind it I cannot support.
I agree. If you were in charge over there at WotC and Hasbro specifically, what would you have done to stave off this anti-WotC feeling that's going on?
So they made so many fuck ups. It's really hard to pinpoint like where you catch the snowball from being an avalanche.
Yes.
It's hard to say, but I think what I would have done is, instead of teasing D&D 1 or 1D&D or whatever they're trying to tell you it is now, and trying to like push back the movie and intimidating people who are into magic, like like anything that they did, I would instead redirect to media. The Dungeons and Dragons movie had so much pull behind it. People rallied. New people who had never been into it before decided to get into it. I would truly be, and D&D is the most visible it's ever been right now. I would be pulling the heavyweights in the community and asking them what they want to see from the system. And while we're revamping a system in a room full of experts who are being paid for their fucking time, I would be popping out movie babies and TV show babies and, like, you know, giving people a reason to come to the game. That way everyone is playing it, everyone is like the changes that are going to happen are in good hands. That, like, you know, it's like the Lorax, they would speak for the trees at that point. People who've been playing it for 15 years, some people have only been playing for 2, like, get a good range in there. There's got to be better people equipped to rebuild the system than the same people who have been in the room for the last 30 years. So yeah, I'd give us all characters to root for in a
Mm-hmm.
mainstream sense, so movies and TV shows, and I would not be releasing one D&D or D&D 1 or the next edition of D&D
Right.
whatever until it had been vetted, play tested, and not at all teased to the
Right.
public
Right.
by experienced nerds. You
Right.
leave it to nerds and they will do you right,
Oh, 100%.
especially if they are being paid well.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not pretend like WotC doesn't have the money because they have the
I
money.
mean, it's Hasbro.
So, yeah, I would have done things different.
Yeah. So speaking of differently, Hasbro, well, specifically WotC, but I think Hasbro had a big hand in this. They tried to take away, in a sense, the open gaming license, pretty much ending the homebrew of D&D, which is, in my opinion, the mainstay of what D&D and why it is still surviving as it is in its
I agree.
iteration. They have since backpedaled because
Yeah.
Pathfinder said, "Well, we got open gaming license too, so don't worry, we're never gonna get it away from you." Um, do you think that them taking away open gaming license would have stopped people from continuing to do their own thing in the D&D sense?
No. Like, how are you going to prove it?
I'm just
Like,
not
how
playing
can?
D&D.
Yeah, like why do you think it's your system? I'm calling it Ponyverse Cupcake Wars. Like, I don't know what you mean. I don't get it.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, you can't prove, like, what are you going to do to me? Like, you can't prove it. You can't stop people from being creative.
Right.
You can't stop people from using their brains and imagination.
Right.
And since you refuse to create a perfect system, this unattainable thing, like, we are allowed to tweak it and fix it to our needs because it's a
Right.
game.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
it's like when the U.S. government just said that it's illegal to boycott a company. Okay,
Yeah.
I just don't like their stuff anymore. Like, prove I'm boycotting. You know, there's no way.
Like, how are you going to prove that that is what I am doing?
Right, exactly. Like, okay, so I just don't like that coffee. I just don't like that thing, so I won't buy it. But let's change gears a little bit. So, as you can see, everyone knows behind me, I have toys and comics and stuff galore behind me. But for you, are you a mini collector or a dice goblin?
Dice Goblin.
Really?
Absolutely Dice Goblin, yes, yes indeed. I am also a theater of the mind girly, so I never get to use minis. Now I do have a small briefcase full of minis.
Okay.
But they're mostly for like fun painting sessions or like, having around as gifts for people. Like I have a bulk set
Okay.
and I don't mind giving them out, getting them dirty, breaking them.
Right.
If I ever wanted to get into crafting with minis, I would just like submerge them in resin in a cube and be like, he's being eaten by a gelatinous cube. Minis to me are expendable.
Oh, my heart,
But
that hurts my soul.
sorry, but every
Like-
single one of my dice is a precious diamond gem.
Yes.
These I didn't know these were sitting here on my desk, but
Oh,
they
those are
apparently are.
beautiful.
Apparently, I'm just always surrounded by dice somewhere. I like to keep them around. I like buying the cheap ones. My expensive ones are very much like in special places.
Right, right.
I have a set for each character I've ever played a campaign in.
Mhm.
I have a set for every class of D&D. I have been gifted sets from people who love me and know me. So
So cool.
I would go to battle for a spicy dice set. I would absolutely, for shiny math rocks, I would do a lot. I would maim
love
and
my
murder.
clicky clacks. I love my clicky clacks. I some time ago was gifted anonymously a set of dice that I don't use because one, they're so pretty, they're gorgeous, but also no one's ever gifted me anything just off of like from streaming. They make me so happy. They're gorgeous. I don't know if you could. I love to see if people can see them, but they're metal dice, and they're absolutely beautiful. Like, it's gold and silver and pretty. And
It is pretty.
I'm like, oh my god, they're so pretty. So I never use them. But I am also surrounded by dice, but I'm also surrounded by minis. So Everything for me is like minis and toys and stuff. They're so pretty. Cookie clacks make me happy. As an experienced DM, what advice would you give someone who is transitioning from player to dungeon master? Because that's always a weird transition. Sometimes you're thrown into it, sometimes you're eased into it, and sometimes you're just kind of like, I guess I'll do this. So what advice would you give someone who's doing that?
I actually just got this question earlier this week from someone from
Mm-hmm.
ATL RPG who reached out to me, who's going to be GMing for her first time this upcoming
Ooh,
Thursday.
okay.
And I think the anxiety she was talking to me about, a lot of us get our first and second and third and
Third and
fourth
fourth
time.
time, yep.
Yeah.
No matter how
And
many
she's
times I
like,
do it, I'm
I
still
don't
scared.
know. She said, I don't know how much I need to prep. How much do I need to know? What if I forget a rule? And I reminded her, and I would love to remind anyone who is thinking about getting into DMing,
Mm-hmm.
that this is a collaborative storytelling game.
Right,
So, collaborative, it is not all on you.
right.
It is not, your responsibility and solely your responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to know all of the player's stats, to know all of the rules off the bat. Just open the book. Just
Yes.
just open the book. It is an open book test,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
everyone there is trying to pass. And by pass, I mean have fun,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone just wants to have a good time at the table. And storytelling means you are not a judge, jury, executioner when you are the
Yes.
GM. You are not playing against them. You are all crafting a story together.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that collaboratively is supposed to unburden you. You are
Right.
not pushing them through a plot. You are
Mm-hmm.
letting them discover a story with you, a plot with you. And of course, the game part of it all, like, it's just a game.
Right. Right.
You are never going to run a perfect session. A perfect session does not exist.
Right.
So please keep in mind that it's a game. So it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to feel like you don't know enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, if you've ever played, you can immediately GM. Like, if
Yes.
you
Yes.
ever
Yes.
rolled the dice and you were like, oh, okay, then I do this with this number,
Yes.
you're good to go. Um, it seems daunting. It seems
Yes. Daunting
overwhelming.
is a great word. Yes.
Yes, but it's going to feel better
Mm.
after you do it.
I like the after you do it part because that's usually what happens. You're done. You're like kind of like, what the heck is going on? Do I know this rule? Okay, let me look it up real quick while they're role playing. Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I gonna do? And then once it's all over, it's like, that wasn't bad.
Yeah,
It's like, that wasn't bad.
absolutely.
That was great. I mean, you will eventually go, should have done this, this, and this, but that's besides the point. For a first-time DM though, what do you say is the balance between prep, knowledge, and winging it? I know a lot of first-time DMs tend to prep, trying to anticipate every single aspect or every single outcome, and those things never happen. What is your advice on doing all those three things?
Yeah. So I like to do a bare bones prep,
Okay.
which is knowing your plot, meaning you can sum up exactly the entire story in one
Right.
sentence. So you can be running a Monster of the Week campaign and say, your mystery solving team investigates a ghostly haunting at an old mansion owned by a creepy old man. And that's all you need.
That's it.
That's your whole one shot. And then you make your NPCs. So you say, well, here's the creepy old man. Here's the ghost.
Right.
Maybe there's also a gardener you run into who's like, stay out of this house. Like, you can decide, but you
Right.
only need to know your plot, who they could interact with,
Mhm.
and then the base of the rules. And that's it.
That's it.
Everything else is truly winging it.
Yep.
You can't prep for everything because the point of TTRPGs is to surprise each other. This is improv. TTRPGs are nothing but improv sessions to tell a story. So you can only prep so much. I think over prep is bad because the second your players veer off from what you prepped in your
Oh
head to
boy.
happen, which they will,
100%. 100%.
then you'll be overwhelmed. You'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh no, what do you mean you have dimension door?" Like it's
Like, why
so
are you in the
don't.
ocean? There's nothing in the ocean.
Exactly. They could be like, "You said there was a beach outside," and I'm
Yeah.
like, but that has nothing to do with why we're here." So
Right.
that is where you wing it. If you mention that the mansion is on the beach, and they're like, "Oh, well, I wasn't going to go search the beach for clues." Okay, how can you get them back into where you're at? Be like, "Oh, well, on the cliffside, on the beach, you're following these footprints that look strange. You see a cave in the side of the cliff. The tunnel leads you back to the mansion. In the
Right.
dining room, you see the rest of the party waiting for you." So, like, you can still find things. You can have perception checks, investigation checks. You can be like, "Oh, you want to search? Cool, cool, cool. What are you looking to find?"
Right.
You help them prompt you. So, like, you can tell them what they're going to find if
Right.
you know they're looking for something. But
Mm.
if you just assume that if they go to the beach, they need something there,
Right.
then you're going to be chasing your tail the whole
The whole
campaign.
campaign. You'll never get off the beach and you'll be so unhappy. Like, why won't they just go to the freaking tavern? There's nothing on the
Yeah,
beach. Like, why are we looking for
exactly.
shells? Um,
Exactly.
so we mentioned earlier that you do a Regency-based D&D on your YouTube channel. What is your favorite setting, homebrew or modules?
Homebrew.
Oh, right. Why? So, do you just
When I
gravitate?
first got started running professionally, I
Mm,
used modules. I
okay.
ran a couple of different games of into into the Feywild,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So sorry, it's been a
Yes,
long time.
yes. I heard it.
uh,
I haven't heard about. I haven't heard Wild Beyond the Witchlight forever.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
while ago that I ran it, and I wanted something whimsical and silly and creative and creepy. And I was so overwhelmed running it because I was like, this doesn't feel like my world. It
Yes.
feels like
Yes.
I'm being pulled around by
Mm-hmm.
the module. So like if someone was like, "Oh, well, I want to go to see if there's an underground here." And I'd be like, "Well, it doesn't say in this module that there is one. So no,
No,
you don't get to
exactly.
have fun." Like that's but you know that there is a magical item that they didn't find earlier that maybe you could place there.
Right.
Like
Right.
even winging a homebrew is still a homebrew. So
Yes.
I strongly prefer homebrew. Every single thing I've run since those two Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaigns have
Mm-hmm.
all been homebrew, and I think I have run them better. I think
Right.
my players have had a better time at the table, and I feel more confident as a GM when I am not running off of what someone else tells me is there.
Right. Um, you do, like you said, you prefer homebrew, and we've been talking a lot about the different campaigns that you've done, not in stream for free for private. Um, do you believe that people have more fun starting out as DMs if they do modules just to learn, or would they learn faster if they homebrewed?
I think that new GMs should seriously consider a one
Mm-hmm.
shot,
Oh, okay.
just a one off,
Mm-hmm.
so that you dip your toes in. And if you don't like that system, great, you didn't commit to it. If
Right.
you love it, great, expand on that. Now you can run 3 episodes and a little mini arc. Was it still good? Are you sure? Great. Then we can move into a full campaign. Like you can always build up. But
Right.
if you say you want to run a campaign and you grab a
Mm-hmm.
module and then you're like, "Oh shit, I hate this."
Yes.
After the first session or the second session, you're like, things just aren't clicking.
Right. Right.
This seems cool. Like it's too late. You've committed. The players are committed with you. You would have to be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Hey guys, can we just scrap this?" So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's better to modules are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Homebrew is also fine. Um, but I prefer that people do a one shot if they're new to GMing,
Yes.
and that they only run in a system they've played. And
Gotcha.
that is all I ask for new GMs.
Like, please don't jump into 2E because one, Jesus Christ,
Literally.
Thaco, and and two, you're probably gonna end up hating D&D if you do that, and if you're not a numbers based person. Um, so you've been DMing for a while, but have you had any regrets or made any mistakes as a DM or a player that you wish you could take back?
So many. Um, being, I think, a valuable, because I think it's really hard if you're not doing anything toxic or rude to be considered a bad TTRPGer. But I think a big part of being and becoming a valuable person at the table, whether it is behind the DM screen or as a player, is a learning curve that no one can avoid.
Okay.
You are not going to sit down at the table and be Matthew Mercer. You are not
Right.
going to sit
Right.
down at the table and be Emily Axford. You are like, what you are is learning.
Right.
And so giving yourself grace during that is important. And I've had to do that on both sides of the table. I'm still learning.
Right.
There's very recent mistakes that I've made that I would absolutely take back. Things that I'm like, ugh, like those things where you cringe at night
Yes,
thinking
yes.
about
You're like,
something you
crap. Why did I
did.
do that?
Yes, yes, all the time. I think as a GM though, which is stuff I'm more inclined to talk about, is planning campaigns. You always have to give grace for more sessions than you think it will be.
Yes.
No matter what campaign I have run, whether it was like a mini campaign that was supposed to be 6 sessions or a long campaign that was supposed to be 12, it always had 4 sessions added to that at least. Because your players, if you're doing it right, want to explore the world. They want to take their time in conversation. The story evolves. And so you have to give yourself wiggle room, because especially when you're being paid for these things, you're getting paid per session.
Right.
So you can pay anywhere between, $50 for a campaign if you're doing 5 sessions at $10 each, or my players who also got all of their props to go home with, all their handwritten letters, for a 13 session campaign, paid over $300 to play with me over the course of 6 months.
Right.
So it depends on the value that you're putting into it. It's important. Like, I think the last session that we had was even free, because I was like, we didn't mean to go over this much. Like, it happens all the time. If I say on start playing, it's going to take this long, I'm not going to continue charging you, past a certain point, because that means we've been having such a good time that the story has taken more time than need be. So many campaigns, if it goes past what I say it could possibly run, then I do hold people to that standard of like, okay, continue to give me more money than you agreed to.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's important to learn, to have wiggle room. Canceling sessions, scheduling is always the worst BBEG of any campaign.
Yes.
It's hard to get together when you're all adults, when you're all having lives to live. So that's definitely the GM stuff. I think the biggest regrets that I have as a player is when I felt like retrospectively, never in the moment, but like after the session, and I'd be like, oh no, is when I feel like I didn't give enough spotlight time to the other players. Like, if I feel like I was being too center stage, I will regret it, because I get so invested in the other players at the table. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you're going to say. But sometimes my mouth just goes like, and there I go. There she go, guys. I'm real sorry. So I try to listen more than I speak now when I am a player. And I also feel like that builds your character better, because when they do speak, there's an impact there. So yeah, I think there are lessons to be learned on both sides. I'm still learning on both sides, and I hope I continue to do so.
I love that you incorporated that next question. I don't have to ask. So, as a black woman DMing in the TTRPG space,
Ha ha
there are
ha.
obstacles that we have encountered. What are some of the obstacles that you've encountered or endured at your earlier tables?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, ATLRPG is a blessing to me.
Mm.
First and foremost, before I say what I'm gonna say. But I do need to be like really upfront about the fact that a group of, you know, 15 to 45 strangers, multiple times, different people, like it's a rotating door or revolving
Right.
door of participants from all over the city, come into a bar
Right.
and decide to play a collaborative storytelling game together.
Mm.
So there are random people there who don't always agree with your life views,
Right.
who don't want to respect pronouns per se, who don't like safety tools per se, or who have a view of me because I am a woman and happen to be black, telling you what to do. You know, if you have that mindset, if I'm the person who was like, no, you can't do that thing, also you're being disrespectful because I'm running my table to ensure safety for all. There's been pushback. Of course there's been pushback. There have been people who have been inappropriate to my NPCs. There have been people who have been inappropriate to me at the table and have tried to like hit on me, or has been inappropriate to my PC and like not letting her make decisions in game, and instead like picking her up because she's the only girl and all this kind of stuff, and tossing her around, or like not letting her go off and kick butt because they're like, oh, she's a girl, we have to do this. Luckily, so rare, only at my tables. And now that I'm sure most people who are constantly at games know what table manners are, but now that I have better table control and better table manners, I am not dealing with those issues anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I haven't had anything bad happen in a very long time. But yeah, I've had classic brohood thrust upon
me. Yes.
You know, people who like when I was new, them being like, "Oh yeah, we can tell you're new," and I'm like, "But I told you that."
Yeah, but
that's what I said. I also write TTRPGs, so when I was writing one of them, I would play test them at our weekly meetups.
Okay.
And there were some people who were giving me serious pushback, not just because the game was in development, because I got so much valuable criticism that really helped shape that system when I was still writing it, but just like mean petty stuff that had nothing to do with the system and had everything to do with me. So luckily, again, I don't deal with that anymore either. Again, the trash takes itself out. Once you realize that the people around you aren't laughing at your terrible jokes, or don't want to sit at a table with you, or ignore you when you say something rude, or turn away from you when you're being like, you stop wanting to come back and join us every week, you know. So we usually don't have to do anything about people like that because they don't feel welcome, and they're correct.
That's good. That's awesome. That is awesome. Like, that's awesome. In your opinion, you talked about earlier how to overcome anxiety, the fear of being in front of the camera. But in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait or strength that someone would need to have to work in the industry of content creation, but specifically doing TTRPGs and D&D? What do you think they need to be successful at this job?
I think it's a weird combination to find, but the people I find that are most successful in the TTRPG space are gay. No, I'm just kidding. So sorry. They are both silly and incredibly deep.
Yeah.
So people who love a good joke, but then can do a monologue because they feel that's how their character would respond. They do amazingly. Though they know how to show all facets of a character. Someone with a great imagination who is not afraid to be the butt of a joke, because we need that. We don't need more serious people. We need funny, brilliant, creative people who can be serious.
Right.
And I think those two qualities in tandem make a really important balance to be a successful TTRPG creator, which is why I think Critical Role and NADPOD and Dungeons and Daddies and Dimension 20 all do really, really well.
Right.
It's because these are comedians and actors, and these are people who know how to access different emotions and mindsets that make for well-rounded characters. And if you have well-rounded characters, you're going to have a well-rounded story. I think it's really important to be silly and to be deep. Which seems so far apart, but again, if you're following your heart, they're gonna cross over. You gotta trust me on this one.
Believe me, she has over 10K followers on TikTok. Believe me when I say she knows what she's talking about.
I am really grateful for every single one of my followers on TikTok, by the way. You guys, most of them are my mutuals. I follow 3,000 people, and every single one of them is
follow back.
That's
awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. So it's my belief, this is how I think, and I've asked this with multiple of my guests, that people that stream or people that put out content, with specific time, are talented but undiscovered producers, directors, actors, whatever, and they hold all those roles onto themselves. Where do you see yourself in these roles that I've just mentioned, and do you plan on expanding on them in the future?
Gosh, so I too suffer from imposter syndrome. I was raised in a way where no one in the world is a main character. I was raised to be an NPC.
I know
my
exactly
job,
what you mean.
pay my bills, go to sleep, do it again.
Wake up, do it again. That's it.
And that's what I was told was a good life.
Right.
Right. But I have never wanted a life that was just good. I have always wanted a life that I want.
Right.
With everything in me. And I don't like to be perceived for something I'm not, which is why acting scares me. But a lot of content creation is acting.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so weird because I've never been good at it, because as soon as I feel like someone's watching me, I'm like,
that's yes.
So
hi, my name is
yeah, exactly. I start stuttering, I'm sweating, I can't remember anything. So I think that's where me and my ring lights love affair began.
Right.
Because no one else has to be in the room but me and this phone and this ring light. And if I can put it in the right spot, I can do this as many times as I need without feeling like I'm being looked at or judged or doing it wrong, because the only one that I say post is going to be the one that people see. So I would love to get more into acting. I have a lot of personal growth to do before I can. I have a sneaky suspicion that I will be 45 or so doing my first community theater big breakout.
I feel like you could do it now. Like I said, I had the experience of being with you at a table on Scarlett's channel, and I was just like, these people, these girls are on it. They are on it.
Everyone was really good. Neo chose the right people.
I was like, I'm having one. I had an absolute blast. That's number one. Number two, I was like, I am getting character feedback. I am getting played off each other. I feel like they're really my sisters. This is so much fun. So I think you should probably do it now. But that's my do it now. So
would love to. I just don't know where that kind of stuff starts, because I feel like D&D TikTok, if you're not wearing D&D clothes, then you're automatically an acting TikTok. If you voice to a sound, or if you do anything like that, and I'm like, I don't want to be over there.
like I don't want to be
Every
there.
everyone I've seen on acting TikTok gives me the willies. Like
Yeah.
y'all weirding me out. Why are you looking at me like that?
Like,
Like I
it's bizarre. And not only that it's weird, but it's also like it feels, it feels weirdly fake. Whereas D&D acting doesn't feel fake. It feels like I'm part of something. Whereas
yeah.
the acting talk is, this feels weird. Please stop now. Go
It does
away.
feel really weird, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm biased towards fantasy stuff.
Right.
Maybe it's like in my head, if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
costume, then you're playing a part.
Right.
So I can easily see it as like, oh yeah, you're a whole character transforming this sound. But if you're not in costume, I'm like, why are
Why are you
you
going?
saying
Yeah,
this?
like why are you in your pajamas talking about this? This doesn't make sense, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so, um, what is one advice you would give someone who, we had talked about earlier about giving advice to someone who's just starting to DM, but someone who's been DM for a while, they've done a couple of table sessions, they've done a campaign here and there, and they want to jump into the deep end of TTRPG, not just D&D, but TTRPG. What is the advice you would give to that person?
Write your own system.
Mm,
Write a TTRPG. It
gotcha.
could even be a one-page TTRPG. Those are easy to write. You
Mm-hmm.
can use anything because,
Right.
again, it's just about the story you want to tell.
Right.
So you could literally be like, your characters in this game are all different items of clothing, and you're
Mm.
trying to get clean. And that's what you play. You know, like people absolutely will role play a
Mm-hmm.
pair of jeans if they have cool stats and can do
Yes.
cool abilities. And people would play a cardigan, like a sweater, if you told them that they could have like a fear of cheese or fear of snow, or, you know, like
Right.
people want to tell weird stories. So write a TTRPG because one, that solidifies mechanics to you.
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand how things work, and most TTRPGs work on chance.
Mm.
Um, once you know the probability of the chance you want to, interpose, once you know the story you want to tell, then you can play test it,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
so much fun because you get to learn. You
Right.
get to make mistakes and fix it and make it better. And then you actually have a game that
Right.
you made that you can run, and you will have made from start to finish everything about it. And it is such a deep feeling of accomplishment
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
fun to be able to do that, that I think it's worth doing. If you've run enough and you're like, okay, I mean, I have like a pile of books that are on my to be run pile,
Right.
but I don't really feel like running any of those. I'm kind of in a rut. What should I do?
Mm-hmm.
Write your own system.
Okay.
If you could all be stars in the sky and you're trying not to get hit by comets, what are the mechanics of that?
Okay.
Like what are your stats? Twinkle
Mm.
and shine and fall.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
decide what you can do as a star. You decide if stars can communicate, if they can wear funky little jackets. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you get to make anything you want come to life, and then you get to share it with your friends who
Gotcha.
will get to tell beautiful stories in that way. So I think that's the most rewarding thing to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
why I think homebrew is rewarding, but not as much as building it from the ground up.
Gotcha.
Not so much as tweaking it. It's fun, it's great, it's challenging, it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Right.
It's so
Yes.
important to make homebrews.
Yes.
But I think it's a whole different thing to make a game from the ground up.
I agree. I agree. So now that you've said all that, I'm gonna really, really need you to make a Twitch channel so you can show us how to do this. Like this needs to be like everyone has a world building stream. I have a world building stream. I know all the content, but I need a stream with Meadow the GM to show us how to do a TTRPG from start to
I
finish.
could do that. I could do that.
So that's what we
I've
need
made
to hear.
enough of them at this point that I could probably do that.
We're gonna need this from you. I'm gonna need you to, cause like, I need you here on Twitch to do this, so I can
Hell
watch this
yeah.
on a regular basis and be a happy camper. Um, a lot of people um, will purport to have their biggest influences or something or someone that people already know. Like, oh, my biggest influence is Morgan Freeman or whatever. But what is your biggest influence that most people have never heard of?
I don't know how big this community is, but have you heard of Star Kid?
No.
Okay, then Star Kid. Star Kid is this theater troupe, this little
Mhm.
company of nerds who make musicals. They started out with parodies. You may have
Mhm.
heard of a Harry Potter musical or
Yes.
Twisted. They did those, and then they started moving and branching into other things, which are all super cool.
Mhm.
They're now very inclusive. The music is awesome, and
Okay. Okay.
I the world building is really intense. They have this thing called the Hatchetfield Saga.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
which is the guy who didn't
Looking it
like
up.
musicals. The guy who didn't like musicals, Black Friday,
Mhm.
um, Nightmare Time, which is a web series of little
Okay.
mini stories that are musical, and then newly, Nerdy Prudes Must Die.
Gotcha. Yep.
And I
That's
guess
out.
we're also talking Working Boys, a short film. Like I could
Mhm.
go on. I'm very deeply obsessed with Star Kid, but
Okay.
they created this entire town that is being ravaged by these
Mhm.
eldritch beings.
Ooh.
And so it's like horror and comedy and romance, and it's a musical, and they are so fun. And this is one of the series that I am going to have on How Do You Love Darling Games, where we
Okay.
do a drinking game and a watch through with a very dear friend of mine,
Mhm.
Bree, who is also on Neo's Hillard
Yes.
AU campaign.
Yes.
And it's brilliant,
Mhm.
it's deep, and it's funny, and it's, again, my favorite word in the whole world is silly. It's so silly while
Mhm.
still being so earnest and so
Okay.
emotional. I I love it,
Okay.
and if you don't, you're not allowed to tell me, because then I have to fight you. Those are the rules, I didn't make them. I have to fist fight anyone who doesn't like Star Kid.
I'm
And
gonna
I think
check
that's
them
one of
out
my
now.
biggest inspirations. I just finished a campaign that I wrote set in their world of Hatchetfield and the Monsters of
Mhm.
the Week system.
Okay.
So it was so much fun. We adjusted it to have some homebrew musical rules.
Mhm.
Everything was theater themed, and I had some of the best players in the whole world at my table, who I hope to play with again or run for again. I would do anything for them. Pretty much anyone who runs or like plays a game with me, I end up
Mhm.
becoming really good friends
Oh, that's
with.
so fun.
um, Last year I met up with, oh wait, no, it was this year. I met up with one of my players at a Ren fair out of
Mhm.
state. Like I will travel to see you. Like
Oh,
we
wow.
TTRPGs build such genuine community, and
Yes.
I know that this is my job, but I make genuine connections with the people that I run for sometimes, and I want to support them, and I want to see them, and I want to be their best friends, and I want to talk about the campaign. I want to know what's up with you, and
What's
I want to
going
come
on?
over to your house. Like, yeah, I just want to hang out. Anyone who hires me is basically paying me to be their friend forever. So I just like to make sure that everybody's okay.
Oh, that's awesome. So now I feel like you're gonna be one of my best friends. I'm gonna be like, Nana, what are you doing? So
Literally nothing. I'm earlier today I was like hot gluing some fruit onto a basket. So like
that's
whatever I'm doing, it's nothing.
it's
Like you
nothing.
can hang out.
So you've played a lot of D&D. How many editions of D&D have you played so far, and which one is your favorite?
I have only played D&D 5th edition.
Okay.
I have watched a lot of other editions. I have watched
Mhm.
the 4th edition. I watched the 2nd edition. And none of them really called to me. I don't
Right.
think they optimized anything.
Right.
Uh, there's some things that I think are cool and that they could bring back, like with the ranger class, but honestly, I don't really
Mm.
play a ranger that often,
Right.
so it's
I don't think
fine.
anyone plays Ranger. I feel like no one hardly ever plays Ranger.
I love rangers. I
Really?
love using them for one shots,
Mhm.
but not for campaigns.
Right.
For
Yeah.
campaigns, I try to main things that can have access to magic,
Mhm. Mhm.
because martial classes, unless they're high level,
Yeah.
don't impress me much.
Agreed.
Well, I
Agreed.
mean, Rogue is technically a martial class, but I
But
usually end up playing an arcane trickster,
yeah,
so I always have access to magic.
right, and that's the same thing. Rogue, I know Rogue is technically martial class, but because they have access to Arcane Trickster, and you can tweak them in a way, and usually around the time they get to between third and fifth level, now they're really fun. It's fine. The
Yeah,
other ones are like, oh my god, why is this character so boring? But that's an opinion of mine. That's fun.
I
It's fine.
agree. I agree 100%.
So, other than D&D, what other and your own TTRPGs? What other TTRPGs do you enjoy playing?
I love thirsty sword lesbians.
Oh my
Um,
gosh,
it's
haven't
so
played yet.
fun. That is what most of the sessions on Start Playing that you see when it's like, oh, she's run over 100 sessions. It is mostly thirsty sword lesbians.
Okay.
It's so narrative and it moves combat so quickly,
Mm.
and it allows you to continuously cut to the heart of a character.
Oh, that's lovely.
The pacing is super fast, the campaigns go quickly. I just wrapped up a Scott Pilgrim versus the World inspired Thirsty Sword Lesbians campaign
I
where
want
they
to
were
play.
doing. Oh my god, I'm gonna run it again. It was that good. That's the one I was telling you. We have like band T-shirts that are
Mhm.
coming in at some point. Um, they rocked it. It was so good. It was like a Battle of the Bands tournament, and every session we would battle a different band, and in every band was one of my band members' exes. So we were really, really getting to it.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of paranormal stuff was involved. So we
Mhm.
had a werewolf and a witch and a robot and a zombie.
Oh my god.
We had a
What is
lot
this
going on.
game? I've
Thirsty
heard it.
Sword Lesbians is so fun.
I need to play.
Um, I'm definitely gonna run it again. So rewarding, and I met some of. I mean, I say this about every table, but I met some of the most beautiful people I have ever met there. Shout out to actually Ann on TikTok and to V. He is awesome. He's bowled me over with some of the best character work I've ever seen, and
Mhm.
do anything to have them at my table again. And a list of so many others, but like I just want to shout them out. They were beautiful stars that
Go
like
for it.
shocked me with how they handled character interactions in the campaign. I was so proud. So Thirsty Sword Lesbians and Monsters of the Week grew on me, but
Okay.
I don't think it's one of my favorites.
Mhm.
I'm really excited to run my Goonies inspired Kids on Bikes coming up. That's going to
Okay.
be the
Okay.
spring and summer campaign because I love
Oh,
Goonies. I'm obsessed with the movie The Goonies,
same.
and to have like a campaign where you can all just be teens looking for
Mhm.
treasure on the coastal city with on your bicycles and on your
Yep.
scooters, and getting
Running,
to the
running
heart
from
of things sounds
gangsters.
so
It's
much
so much
fun.
fun.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we're doing that this spring summer. I have been teasing that campaign for a while, but I
Ooh.
had to write it first. So
Do it on
now that it's
Twitch.
finally written, yeah,
Do it on
would
Twitch.
love to. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, so
So yeah.
that's awesome. So outside of D&D, outside of your TTRPGs, um, we know that you love Renfairs, but what other games and pastimes do you enjoy?
Um, I like throwing axes and
That's
knives.
so cool.
I like flying trapeze. I love to do crafts. I write novels and music. I write TTRPGs. I love my cats. Does that count?
That totally
Um,
counts. I mean, there's
and
nothing
I
wrong
love
with
to
here.
cook as well. I love cooking, and I'm a big movie file. I'm a big cinephile. Like I love movies and film, and I have seen so many, and so many of them I know by heart. Um, yeah, and I love puzzles.
Ooh, okay,
Puzzles.
okay.
So many puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, wooden block puzzles, puzzle blocks, puzzle mazes, puzzle toys, anything. I love to solve a mystery. So
Mm.
for sure, if I'm not swinging from a trapeze, I will be solving a mystery of
I
some sort.
you keep saying this, and I keep getting this visual of you in like full, like a corset and like this full dress, and all I see is this you on the trapeze in this cosplay, and I can't get it out of my head.
I can tell you this: you could not pay me to put a corset on and do flying trapeze. You cannot breathe. Breathing is one of the most important parts up there. And when you're contorting your body on the bar, I know my corsets would just like cut into me. Like I would be chopped in half if I tried to do any of the tricks that I needed to do on bar up there. Absolutely not.
Like
No, no,
that's
no.
not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Never would. No
I
way,
have this
Jose.
visual in my head now, and this is all I see. Um, so, um, back to D&D a little bit. Rules is written, or as I like say, rule is intent, or rule of cool, and why?
Always rule of cool,
Mm.
because I would much rather tell a cool story
Mm-hmm.
than a rules accurate story.
Yes.
Yeah, I would much rather have a very cool, fun, awesome, sick time that
Mm.
fucks instead of some lame soy boy rules is written. The rules have been proven not to be efficient, which is why we have so many additions.
Yes.
So why would I listen to you? Like it's not worth it to do everything rules is written.
Right.
And I have been a player in campaigns of D&D where rules is written just frustrated me. Like
Yes.
I was like, yes, but to the letter, I'm technically correct, and it would be really cool, and it wouldn't hurt
Yes.
anybody to let me do this cool thing.
Right.
And my DM has been like, no.
No.
Okay, well
Okay.
then we're not friends. Like
Yeah. Now we're not
I
friends, but
don't
this is my
like
last
that.
session.
Yeah.
So with that, actually, with the rule of cool, have you ever encountered? Okay, there's a stereotype of the actually person, like actually. Have you ever encountered that person at your table, and how have you handled them?
Nope.
No, really.
um, I have not. I have always been really into asking if I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So if someone was like, "Oh, can I use this spell?" I'd be like, "Sure." And if someone was like, "Oh, well, it says area of effect," I'd be like, "Yeah, I said sure." Like,
I said what I
yeah,
said.
I approved it. Like, I know what I'm doing, and it's
Yes.
okay to do it because I said so, and I'm
Yes.
the one who gets the final say. So it would be cool, it would be fun, it would be sick. Roll the dice.
Mind your
Um,
business and roll the dice.
yeah, mind your fucking business. I have had some people be like, actually, I don't think that's how that spell works.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, no worries. For the purposes of the story, yes, it does, though.
Okay, there you go.
It's not. Again, table manners comes with time. I didn't start out that way. But I didn't start out running D&D until I knew D&D a lot
Right,
better.
right.
So I started out running my own system. So it's really hard for people who are in an active play test,
Yes,
to
yes.
come off as actually. It's really like, okay, so this is what this rule says. Is this what I do? Is this what this means? And me being like, oh, that's my misstep. What it means when I say that in the
Right.
text is this. So, I've never had anyone be so rude that I've had to stop them from speaking, but I
Ooh, okay.
would do that.
Like it will happen if it does happen. So
Yeah, if it needs to happen, it'll happen. But luckily, I've been super, super lucky
good.
and blessed and happy to have wonderful people at most of my tables.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if you could DM for anyone, dead or alive, real or fiction, up to 5 people, who would it be? This is one of my favorite questions because almost everyone sits back and goes,
Yeah. Yep. Okay, you said up to 5 people?
Yes.
Okay. Then what I'm gonna do...
I'll give you one bonus more, 6.
Okay, thank you so much. what I'm gonna do is the entire main cast of Community,
Mm.
but not Pierce, not
Okay.
Pierce Hawthorne. No, 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 no,
No,
no.
no, no.
Um, but I am getting Jeff, Britta, Abed, Troy, Annie, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of Shirley, even though I love Shirley, she's
Mm.
not going to get in the spirit. So I will take the Dean.
Ooh,
So my
okay.
main six are six characters from Community,
Mm-hmm.
and I can
Mm-hmm.
say this with all certainty: I would take their characters.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would take their actors. I think they would both do
Ooh.
wildly different things, but they would
Yes.
both be fun. Community is one of my favorite uh, shows of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and they did a D&D episode.
I was just about to bring that up.
And I
How did
think
you
I could do
feel?
that better.
Yeah, how did you feel about that Community episode? Like, I have a nephew who, oddly enough, loves Community, and because he knows I DM, and that episode
Yeah.
came up, he was like, "It made me feel uncomfortable. Why was I uncomfortable?" How did you feel
Oh, I
about
could
that?
give you a few reasons. Yeah, I don't think the D&D episode was handled very well. It has since been mostly scrubbed from
Yes.
viewing.
Yes.
Um, but that is why I think it could be done beautifully, because
Mhm.
many of the seasons of Community have a paintball episode,
Yes.
which to me watches like a D&D session.
Mm.
Every single one of them. There's a Western style,
Right.
there's a Star Warsy style, like there's a zombie style, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, there's so many episodes of Community that feels like sessions of D&D
Right.
that I know the characters and the actors would be great at it, but the
Mm-hmm.
handling of writing Dungeons and Dragons in a time when it wasn't yet mainstream hobbyist,
Yes.
it was just traditional hobbyist, like niche hobby, I think was handled poorly, and that's why I
Yes.
want to run it. I want to do it better, I want to do it justice, and I think that anyone who can run a good D&D game could run it better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, I would absolutely love to.
So do you
And
think...
also, you got to know lines and veils. You can't just be describing what you're doing to the milkmaid, bro.
Exactly, exactly. So do you think that the way they did that episode was because they didn't have someone or people who actually played D&D? They just got an idea of what D&D was and ran with it?
I think that it could be a combination. I don't know what Dan Harmon, like, what his relationship to D&D is.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is that a lot of what they were saying, like the Lothlorien acts of
Yes.
Swingblade and this elfin,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I think that is a lot closer to what Lord of the Rings
Yes.
fandom cliches are like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they heard high fantasy. They didn't want to do a deep dive into D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and so they kind of transplanted on top of it
Gotcha.
Lord of the Rings, but with D&D mechanics.
Gotcha.
Because there wasn't even like any D&D speak. He didn't say
Right.
roll athletics.
Yes.
He didn't say add your charisma. He didn't say what's
roll
your
initiative. He
AC.
didn't say any of
Yeah,
that.
they didn't say anything that would
Yeah.
be even a slight whistle, like dog whistle, to a D&D player.
Right, right.
So it feels more like Lord of the Rings nerd was told to write a Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what that writing room looked like. I don't know.
Right.
I stand by Community. There are some things that are hard to watch.
Yes.
There are some episodes that do not hold up.
Yes, I agree. So we are at the portion of our show here where we have chat ask questions, and I do have a question from Angry Meatball. I'm hoping that he's still here. What was a concept you tried to execute in a tabletop game that didn't work despite efforts, and what is your gaming white whale?
Oh my god. Oh gosh. Okay, so there's something that did not work at all. One of my favorite movies in the world is Clue.
Okay.
I love a murder mystery. I love the camp whodunit. I love that there are like so many NPCs who it could have been, all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to make that very D&D.
Okay.
I wanted it to be like, um what is it, the barbarian because he's got anger issues? Is it the rogue because they're always stealthing around? I saw them steal something later. Maybe they killed to cover that up.
Right.
Like I really wanted to D&Dify it. When I tell you that I prepped 14, I think, maybe more, 14 NPCs for a suspect list and to staff the mansion. And I had to do their voices, know their motive, know how to answer certain questions. I had cards for each of my NPCs. So I would be like, oh, this one looks like this and is wearing this hat. And it says her accent is, okay, howdy, y'all. I did not kill this man. It was very much like I overexerted myself.
Yes.
I really wanted it to work, but I have since rewritten that. So next time I run it, it'll be a lot better.
Right.
Where it is just the people who are playing at the table. One of the players will have done it.
Okay.
Instead of me trying to make sure there's plenty of people that it could be, so no one really got the mystery right away. I didn't want it to be predictable, and because of that, I took on too much as a DM.
Right.
It was in my very early stages of DMing. So I quickly realized how overwhelmed I was, and I was like, not doing that again.
Never again.
And my gaming white whale, I think is the same as a lot of people's, but I really want to get in that dome.
Ooh.
I really want to get in the Dimension 20 dome. It's a very small possibility, super slim, like
Right.
someone named Jim might be.
Right.
But that is the white whale. That's the thing I'm chasing. I think the minds involved in those campaigns are brilliant. The people seem genuine. I would love to be a part of something that brings so much joy to so many people, and something that's so fun and weird and well put together. It also would not hurt to get paid.
Yes.
So that I would love to be one day. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, chat, if you have any more questions, please put it in chat. In the meantime, while we're waiting for any questions to come in, hopefully, tell us what we can expect from Meadow the GM in the future, the brand, Howdy Darling Games, and from Meadow the person.
Yeah, I plan to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, by June, dropping a Patreon where there can be different tiers to get lots of content, but mainly a new TTRPG that I write every month with your sign up. Access to my early content, unedited content for what's going to be going up on my YouTube channel, and access to private one-shot event streams. To be able to be in the audience for the things that I don't show everyone else that aren't going on my YouTube because it's too much to edit. Again, I run on a busy week 4 games a week, and I play in 2. So it is almost every single day of my life that I am rolling dice on a busy week. So that's too much to edit. But if you want to play some games, or you want to know what TTRPGs look like or how to build them, I will be doing that via Patreon, giving you tips on making your own, releasing a brand new TTRPG every month, and also with lots of little tidbits and side info. It's going to be a good time, yeah.
And what can we expect from Howdy Darling Games, and from you personally, just the person out there?
You can't expect anything from me because I'm very unpredictable. I might simply explode on camera one day. But also I might live forever. I'm gonna keep you on your toes, so you can't expect anything from me that is too much pressure and I will die. But from my YouTube channel, please keep an eye out for my fun drinking games that I'm going to be posting with friends as I introduce them to the TTRPG lens of being a movie buff, where we get to watch really fun things. I don't know if you've ever heard of The Quest, but
I think I have.
most people Most people haven't, but I hope you have because it's amazing and it's great and it's the only reality TV show that matters. It
Hmm.
is a D&D reality TV show where they take people and they actually have to LARP for weeks
Hang on, I have
in
to
a
look this up
castle.
now. What is it called?
um, it's called The Quest. That's a little private bit for you guys because I really do gatekeep this show.
My
It's
gosh.
amazing. They fight ogres, they learn combat, they are on a search to find the one true hero.
Where is this
They're
on?
all paladins. It is on Amazon Prime, I believe, but you have to
Okay.
buy the season, I
Okay.
think. But it's so good, so worth it. I plan to name my firstborn son after one of the contestants. It is amazing.
Oh my
Everyone's
gosh.
actors
Okay.
except for the contestants. So everyone has characters that they stick to. They never break character. They teach them how to ride horses, how to throw spears. They have to escape into the forest. They have to
Why have
fight.
I never heard of this?
I know, right?
What is? I'm just
uh,
looking at this now. What is
so
this? It's
on
going
my
in.
YouTube channel, we'll be watching it. You can come join us as we do a beautiful deep dive into the quest, which I watch at least twice a year, every year. They never got a season 2, but I'm trying to bring it back because
Oh
I
my
do
god.
that for my community.
Hmm.
And it's so much fun. If you get a chance to watch it, you so should. It's very worth it.
I'm
It's
totally gonna
like
watch it now.
it's so, so good. So you can expect that from my YouTube channel. And again, for me, I like to remain unpredictable as such.
That's 100% amazing. Well, Chad doesn't have any more questions. Swifty says that I can't think of any questions that probably weren't asked already. Brain go burr. I'm just here because cool people. Thank you so much, Swifty. So I want to say to you, thank you so much, Meadow, for being here. It was amazing. Love talking to you. I am amazed that you are a trapeze artist and you teach hatchet throwing, and I'm just boggled right now and amazed by you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.